Hi, guys, and welcome to tuning into another episode of the Meat Medic podcast. Today, I have Rory McDonough with me. I think that's how we say it.
Yep.
Rory has got a great story to share about his personal health journey and where he's going with the carnivore diet now. So, Rory, if you want to introduce yourself to the listeners and let us know your story.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Suresh. Yeah. Currently, I eat an animal-based diet. I don't eat strict carnivore. I still eat some fruit, some honey for carbs. Yeah, I eat a lot of red meat, organs, eggs, and occasionally some raw dairy. But yeah, I definitely always wasn't always like this. So for the first 17 years of my life, I was actually a vegetarian. So um, it's been a big shift for me. And growing up, I was always a very slim, skinny kid. I did well academically. Um, but uh, yeah, and after a while, I figured, I wanted to start bulking up a bit. I wanted to start gaining some muscle. So that's when I started um, incorporating some different foods into my diet. And because I found I never really had much success with the vegetarian diet of really bulking up, um, and gaining a bit of mass. And yeah, so I started adding some different foods into my diet, and for a while I thought it was going well, but I really ballooned up. I really I gained a lot of weight. I got up to about 84 kilos at my heaviest, and I'm 5'9". So yeah, I was overweight basically. And what's interesting is for a long time I didn't think there was actually anything wrong, because your reality, you kind of accept it. And you're like, oh, this is what people do. I'm bulking up. I'm gaining weight. I mean, I'm in a bulk phase or whatever. And but yeah, it's only now that I sort of look back on pictures of what I looked like, where I'm like, wow, I was really overweight. I didn't really accept it. And yeah, so I was recommended the animal based diet by a friend um, about 5 months ago, I would say. And after a bit of sort of debate, because I thought, oh, okay, yeah, right, this is going to fix my problems. Um, Eating a lot of meat and cutting out like bread and pasta and stuff. I thought this is what's meant to be good for you, and cutting out vegetables as well is probably the big kind of paradigm shift there. But yeah, I tried it out, and I couldn't believe how much better I felt. And sometimes you don't realize that you even have issues, or you have the issues and you just kind of accept them as something that you always have to live with.
Mm.
And you don't really know what's possible until you actually try something new. So yeah, I had so many benefits from this diet. The biggest one was probably the weight loss. So currently I'm about 67 kilos. So I've lost, what's that, about 17 kilos. That was probably in about 4 months. Um, and I needed to lose those kilos, by the way. Yeah, I think on my Instagram I've got like a before and after photo, and I just look completely different, just a completely different person. But also completely unexpected areas as well that I experienced benefits from this diet. So um, yeah, so a big one was acne. So I've always sort of struggled since a teenager of like sort of just acne popping up on my forehead mainly, um, like a lot of people, and that really completely disappeared after a couple months of this diet. I'd say probably about 6 weeks in, I noticed that, oh wow, I actually don't have any pimples today. Uh, and actually, even more so than that, I struggled. I had a lot of acne on my back, like really bad. Like just every square centimeter was covered in pimples, and it would be something where I would feel very self conscious taking off my shirt in any situation, even if I looked in good shape. Because even when I was getting in shape, I was like, well, I guess this is something I'm going to have to accept. Is no matter how in shape I get, I'm always going to have this, really ugly back. And one day I sort of turned around, looked in the mirror, looked at my back, and I said, "Wow, um, it's completely gone." It was just there's literally no acne back there now, which is amazing to me. Um, yeah, because like I said, it had just been something that I had accepted that would be there forever, no
Mm,
matter what I did. And then a range of other benefits from this diet. Dandruff was a strange one.
mm.
I used to always use the classic Head and Shoulders shampoo because I actually had pretty bad dandruff in high school, and that sort of mitigated the problem, but not didn't really get rid of it. But it seems like this diet has really tackled the problem at the root cause because now I have no need for that shampoo anymore, and my hair qualities just feels much better. And then mental health benefits. A lot of people report more energy, more libido. Uh, I haven't had my blood works done, but I know know for pretty much certain that my testosterone has skyrocketed after this diet. And yeah, just mental clarity in that. So that's sort of when I started experiencing all these benefits, and I sort of thought this diet is kind of so out of the mainstream, especially the no eating no vegetables um, thing that I sort of wanted to share this diet with people because it's something that a lot of people, including me, would have skepticism about starting. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now is trying to share my story with others.
Yeah, I mean, what a great introduction to the animal based diet, and pretty much exactly the same kind of experiences that I had. You know, I've lost something like 15 kilograms of fat, I think, on this animal based diet. I'm doing pure carnivore,
Hmm.
but you know, we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own slight take on it, and I think that's perfectly fine.
Hmm.
People got to find what works for them, I think, more than what works for other people. But yeah, like the dandruff one, yeah, I noticed that. Same. I had really bad dandruff,
Really?
and like I'm wearing a black t-shirt now. I mean, you know, eagle-eyed viewers on YouTube may pixel peep and see a few flakes, but I couldn't wear this. You know, like 3 4 months ago, no way. It would have just been white almost. Like I got eyebrow dandruff. Like my
Really?
beard, yeah, like eyebrow dandruff. That's not super nice, you know, to have, and it just kind of completely disappeared. Absolutely amazing. I used to use like antifungal shampoos and you know things like you said as well, but now, yeah, I just don't need to at all. Just completely gone basically, which is amazing. I mean, you listed off so many health benefits there from the animal-based diet. Interesting that you said you were overweight when you
Mm.
were vegetarian, because that's not something that people tend to equate with a plant-based diet. Being overweight, why do you think that maybe was?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I was overweight on the plant-based diet. I added in I would say I was underweight on the plant-based diet. So it's funny. And then I kind of became overweight by adding in a lot more sort of like chicken, uh, probably more processed foods, which would add to it as well.
Mm,
But at its heart, I suppose I was still eating I was eating a lot of vegetables because I'd grown up in a household where vegetables are really important. I was eating a lot of I was still eating a lot of processed vegetarian stuff. So, for example, like the like the fake meat sausages and the fake meat patties and stuff. I was still eating that. I was eating tofu, um, things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was plant based when I was overweight, although I was eating things like that. Um, yeah, I guess it was probably more the processed food, and then also I think the sort of bloating from the vegetables and that. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds like that might have been the case. So you lost
yeah.
a lot of weight. You saw benefits with dandruff, you mentioned, your mental health improved, mental clarity, your energy. You mentioned that you're pretty sure your testosterone's improved. What makes you think that?
Well, my voice has gotten deeper. I think actually. Um, which is
Interesting.
one of the which seems to indicate that. And yeah, I mean, I guess the libido increases. I know that for sure, and I assume that's linked to testosterone. Uh, when I go to the gym, I just feel more of a rush after lifting, lifting heavy weights. It's sort of a bit of a silly thing to say, but I feel more masculine. You know what I mean? So yeah, that sort of stuff indicates to me that my testosterone hasn't increased dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly the same with me. All those things, I saw as well. And yeah, it sounds odd to say, but you do just feel more manly.
Mm.
It's hard to describe. There isn't a definition of what's manly and so forth and masculine, but you do just feel, yeah, more manly, more masculine. It's hard to explain. So you said that you want to kind of share the word about this animal based diet now because you've seen so many changes. Now you've got your own podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. I actually had you on as a guest recently,
Hmm.
which was great to have you. Yeah, so that's the animal based experience. And yeah, basically just talking to different people that have tried this diet. Range of different people. I've had yourself, a GP. I've also had uh, you know uh, people that are semi pro sort of athletes, um, sort of martial artists and stuff that have used the diet in fights. I've had people that have just used it in their everyday life. I've had, speaking of sort of testosterone and manliness and stuff, I had a dating coach on who uses it and has found it actually helped with his sort of dating, his personal dating life, and he recommends it to his clients, which I found really interesting. And yeah, a range of different people. I'm even having someone on soon that is completely new to this diet and has only eaten it for like a month, and lost 6 kilos in a month. So someone that's sort of just starting. I've got a range of different people. Someone just starting on their journey, and then also other people that are, a couple of years into it and are still experiencing benefits from it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I listened to I listened to a few of your episodes, and I certainly heard the one with the dating coach, and yeah, I thought that was really interesting that he was talking about following an animal based diet, and becoming more masculine, and everything there, and how he found that it worked really well for him and some of his clients, there as well. I think one thing that you guys were also talking about, if I remember correctly, was hunting, or was that a different
Yeah.
episode?
Yeah. No, we
Yeah,
were talking about hunting. We've
yeah.
him and I have actually been hunting together. So yeah, we've experienced that together, which was great.
Yeah, so hunting is something that is quite divisive,
Mm,
and I have never been hunting.
mm,
I've always been somewhat interested in hunting, not trophy hunting,
hmm.
not interested in that, but hunting for food, and the experience of hunting. And I think hunting is something that's probably quite misunderstood. Maybe you can give our listeners, our viewers, a bit of an idea about what you do with hunting, because you do bow hunting. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So we do bow hunting. We actually use traditional bows. So for people that aren't sort of into archery, there's sort of different types of bows you can get. The sort of compound bows, which are more common today, which are great. They're a lot easier to shoot. They're a lot easier to be accurate with. Traditional bows are a lot more difficult, but if you succeed at difficult things, it's actually a lot more satisfying. And yeah, the reason I sort of wanted to try hunting in the first place was I wanted to be part of the process of the food getting to my plate, because we kind of live in the age of Uber Eats, right? I mean, I get Uber Eats, every now and then too, but we live in an age of convenience where we can get stuff just delivered to us, with no effort or work put into it. Um, So yeah, I wanted to hunt because I wanted to be there for the whole process, from seeing the animal to sort of stalking the animal to, taking the animal's life to, skinning it, butchering the animal, to cooking the animal, and then to eating the animal finally. And I think that's something that's missing a lot of the time, and especially in our space because we eat a lot of meat. You know, even it's actually quite a spiritual experience, I would say as well. Uh, you're taking a life, so you're taking an animal's life, which different people may have quibbles with, but at the end of the day, we're hunting sort of feral goats and feral animals that are pests. Um, the place that I've hunted, the the farmer has said, yeah, basically, if he didn't have hunters on his property hunting these animals, he would just have to go out and do it himself. Otherwise, the his own livestock would be affected by these animals.
Mm.
So, from like an ethical perspective, there's nothing wrong with it. Um, you know, and yeah, we're not trophy hunters. We eat what we kill. So yeah, it's actually very very spiritual, and it's hard to sort of put into words. Just like the benefits from the diet is hard to put into words. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, yeah, no, I definitely recommend it to anyone, especially people that eat a lot of meat and eat this diet. Yeah, it definitely adds to the whole experience, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm interested in maybe learning more about. I think the last time I tried to shoot a bow was probably like 10 years ago and probably failed miserably in archery class in school or something, and but it's definitely something that I've been thinking about. I wasn't really aware there was anywhere locally here in Queensland around Brisbane that you could maybe go. So I might have to have a chat to you a little bit more
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, it's really interesting. You say the spiritual side of hunting, and that's something that we actually hear quite a lot. I know Robert Sykes' Keto Savage podcast. He talks to a lot of his guests about hunting. He goes hunting himself. I think he uses rifles and guns rather than bows. But he says the same thing in his guests. That it's a very spiritual event. It's a very meaningful event, bonding with your friends, from start to finish. You're going out for maybe the whole weekend, and you're tracking these animals, you're hunting these animals, you're killing these animals. That is an inherent part of hunting, of course. But you're doing it in a humane way. You're not torturing these animals. You're trying to go for clean, quick kills so that they're not suffering. And they respect the animals. They respect what they're providing to them in the form of nutrition and sustenance. Butchering the animals and sharing the animals as a collective experience. And they're not, talking about taking it home and hanging it up on the wall or anything like that, or just leaving it, just going out and killing stuff and leaving it there to rot. And they're deeply respectful of the animals for providing them that nutrition. And at the end of the day, we walk into the supermarket, we go and buy meat. It comes from somewhere.
Mm. Yes, it does.
Someone's got to, in effect, hunt that animal at some point. It doesn't just magically appear, unless you're going to go and buy the fake meat, and we all know the dangers of that. They're not very good food.
Mm.
So yeah, hunting I think is something that's probably quite misunderstood. Some people out there do it for the wrong reasons, I think, but most people that I know that go hunting, they do it for the right reasons. They're doing it for food.
Mm.
They're doing it for nutrition and sustenance. And so I think it's something that's quite misunderstood. So with your podcast, you're obviously trying to share the word about the animal based diet. Now you said that you are not doing pure carnivore. You're doing
No.
some fruit and honey and occasional Uber Eats and so forth. Um, do you feel that that's working for you? Because I know there's a lot of debate in the carnivore community around what you should and shouldn't eat, and some people get quite um, heated
Yeah.
on the debate. You're finding that that's working well for you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm open. I'm honestly open to trying strict carnivore. Actually, especially, you mentioned my podcast. I've had a few guests on there that actually do strict carnivore. Um, and which has sort of interested me in it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could go a step further, and try this myself. Yeah, no, what I'm doing now seems to be working. I and I enjoy eating fruit. I enjoy eating honey. I've heard some issues that people who have tried sort of the fruit and honey, but then moved to a strict carnivore diet. Some issues they've had are like extra cravings because they're eating fruit. I haven't personally experienced that. I find it quite easy to to sort of manage cravings, and then that I don't really get it. Um, However, having said that, uh, just like when I was vegetarian, I thought I was doing fine. Um, Maybe trying a strict carnivore diet, I would find that some issues I would have, maybe I didn't even know I had issues. Maybe that would disappear if I went on the strict carnivore diet, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So yeah, no, I'm definitely open to it. I'm not really sort of, I don't really care what people want to eat as long as it works for them, as long as they sort of know. I'd prefer they sort of give stuff a bit of a try, even though they're a bit skeptical about it. And I also think that the animal based sort of the more animal based diet, the fruit and honey, the raw dairy that I eat, in terms of people just coming into sort of an animal based diet, uh, my diet is definitely more of like a gateway drug for them. Even if they do end up eating strict carnivore, I think my diet is an easier sell to them. Because if you're just talking about, they're like, oh well, what do you eat? And you say, well, just meat. They'll be like, what? Really? Like nothing at all? Whereas my method is sort of, you can say, well, you still get fruit, and most people like fruit. You still get honey. You still get some dairy, even if it's sort of not processed. So that's I think one of the benefits of it. But yeah, I'm open minded, um,
Mm.
and yeah,
I think that's a good point because when I talk to patients about it as well, sometimes they just jump straight in and they're like, "Yep, just eat meat, fantastic, I'm down, amazing, no problem." Others are very skeptical about it, and maybe that is an easier way of easing some people into it and saying,
mm,
"Okay, well, yeah, just go animal based." And then
mm.
maybe eat a bit of fruit, eat a bit of honey. So they're getting that sweetness, they're getting some of the fiber still that they hold on to. People hold on to fiber like it's
Oh yeah,
they really need that fiber. So, and then maybe it's a way of easing them in. But yeah, I'm always keen to just get people to try
mm,
and see what works for them. And I think as long as people are not in denial about how they feel, if they genuinely feel great on what they're doing, that's great. If they don't feel great, then try something different.
yeah. Well, that's a good point because a lot of people are in denial about how they feel. So and that's something I have to try and check myself. I'm like, well, do I really feel great? Yes, I do. But I have been in denial before. When I wasn't eating this, when I used to be a vegetarian, and I was sort of brought up by family as vegetarian. So I would have a lot of the general talking points about why meat causes cancer, meat is bad for your health, and people would say, but do you feel good on being vegetarian? And I would say, well, yeah, of course, because you sort of, it becomes a bit of your personality, if you know what I mean. Especially if you're eating non standard diet, which is both vegetarianism and sort of an animal based or carnivore diet, is a non-standard diet. So it almost becomes a bit of your personality where you feel you have to defend it no matter what, and you have to say you can't acknowledge any issues with it or any problems with it. So I always try and be very very open about that sort of thing, and yeah, like you said, not be in denial about how I'm feeling.
Mm. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, there's probably some people doing carnivore diet as well that maybe are not getting the benefits they think they would,
Mm,
but still carry on with it because they're told it's great. So I think that's the main thing. If you genuinely feel good, that's great. If you don't, change what you're doing. That's pretty much the bottom line. You mentioned talking to people about the diet and animal based and so on. So, what have your friends, family said about your new animal based diet now? Especially, maybe coming from a bit more of a plant based background in the past.
Yeah. Well, my mother is still vegetarian, and yeah, she was mortified. Yeah. No, she's very much of the sort of five vegetables a day sort of camp and things like that. I remember I said, oh, I'm eating a new diet. I'm feeling great. And she said, oh, what sort of diet is it? And I said, oh, it's a sort of an animal based diet. I eat this, and this. And she said, oh, and how many vegetables are you eating? And I said, oh, actually, I haven't eaten a vegetable in a couple months, eh? And yeah, she was shocked. She was mortified. Um, but at the end of the day, the results sort of speak for themselves. So people that know me have commented on my weight loss. Even like you don't have to be shirtless to see that. Just from sort of your facial structure. If you lose a lot of weight, your facial structure improves or it changes and yeah, even my skin quality, people have commented on that. So yeah, when I talk about it, people that it sort of subscribe to sort of the standard sort of Australian diet, you might say, would say would express sort of indignation at it. But at the end of the day, they usually sort of say, "Well, it works for you," and I say, "Yeah, yeah, it does." And yeah, you can disagree with it, but yeah, the results speak for themselves. So yeah,
No, absolutely. Isn't it funny though? You talk to people, you say, "Oh, I'm doing a new thing with my health. I'm on a new diet. I feel great, losing weight." And they're like, "Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, like tell me about it. This is so good for you. You look amazing. You look
hmm
incredible." And then you tell them what you're doing, and they're like, "Oh no, that's crazy."
yeah,
And you're like, but
mhm,
but I feel amazing, all my, people have cured themselves of diabetes, all these other things, and then they're just told, oh yeah, but you're just crazy, you're gonna die.
mm,
Like they go from this is amazing, you look great to just you're gonna die. Like just as soon as you say animal based, they just no, can't deal with it.
yeah.
It's isn't that just funny?
Yeah.
Um, I think you said last time we spoke that you're actually taking this one step further than just your podcast to try and get the message out there. What else are you doing in this kind of animal based space? What's the future for you with your diet and what you're doing with it now?
Yeah, so I want to get the podcast and I have an Instagram as well that I sort of um publish information to help people become more aware of the diet and the benefits it's given me and so many other people. And but I also want to I think one of the big what would you say? One of the big sort of objections to the diet that people would have is, oh well, I have to go out and get meat, all the time. I have to spend a lot of time on this diet. It's like a high maintenance diet. I think that's one of the perceptions that I've come across from people. Even people that are sort of open to trying it, they sort of say, oh, I don't know, that kind of sounds like a lot of work. Even though it's not. I mean, it's really not that much work. I find it personally as someone that doesn't really like cooking, it's a lot easier than what I was doing. But it can be difficult sort of going out, very often and finding groceries. So I wanted to make it as convenient as possible for people to follow this diet. I didn't want that objection to be the reason that people don't sort of take the first step and actually fixing some of their health issues. And so yeah, so I haven't launched it yet, but I am launching sort of a meat slash animal based delivery system. I know I spent some time before talking about how you should hunt rather than getting a delivery system, but I am also doing the delivery system because we can't all hunt food every day, 24/7, 7 days a week. Um, so yeah, I'll be launching that soon. It's not up yet, but more details. I'll be talking about that on my podcast and on my Instagram. And that's sort of going to be in the Brisbane area, and then sort of in the Australia wide. Yeah, I'll be yeah, delivering meat and making it easy for people as well that follow a similar diet to me. If they also eat fruit and honey, I'll be adding that in there too, just to make it easy for people. Yeah.
Mm. No, that sounds really, really good actually. Because yeah, meat delivery services, there's a few around, but
Yes.
there are, there are some issues. People have issues with packaging and and things like that, or they don't trust them, or that kind of stuff. I guess one of the big things that I feel around delivery services versus just going to the butcher is that you can't see the meat, you can't talk to the butcher.
Mm.
Maybe that's something that you can look at implementing somehow with your service maybe. But definitely when it's up and running, let me know. We'll get you back on the show and talk about how it's going and give
Yeah.
you a bit of a plug and so forth.
Yeah.
So
Cheers.
definitely keep in touch there. If I can, I want to go back a little bit there, Rory. You mentioned that you effectively cured yourself of pretty bad acne
Mm.
from the sound of it. Now, acne is something that a lot of people suffer with, both young, children, teenagers, and adults, and it can be very, very disabling. I often say to people, it won't kill you, but it can stop you living,
Mm.
which I think is a pretty good way of putting it.
That is a good way to put it, actually. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, and you had it across your forehead, you had it on your back as well, to the point where you didn't really even want to take your shirt off because you
Mm.
were embarrassed about it. And then you found it just resolved, not overnight, but a couple of months on the carnivore diet or animal based diet. What other treatment had you had in the past for your acne, and was it working? Was it doing anything?
Yeah, so it wasn't really doing much. I was yeah just using the usual sort of acne creams you'd get at like a pharmacy or and stuff. I would apply that to my forehead. My forehead acne wasn't too bad, to be fair. I've definitely seen a lot of, especially high school kids with a lot worse. But my back was like really bad. Um, so after a while, I kind of really got into this mindset of, all right, well, I really want to fix this back. So what do I have to do that? So I got I got these big bottles of acne cream, and I would apply it to my back 3 times a day. This is 2 years ago. I was doing this. I started doing this. I would literally go in the shower for like 5 minutes and apply acne cream 3 times a day, because I really wanted it to go away, and I think it had some impact, but I would say it had maybe like a 10% impact, like very little, which was very disheartening, um, for the inconvenience of spending so much time just doing that, rubbing it into your back, and really spending a lot of time and money and effort on taking care of it, for very little results. So to see that sort of be completely resolved, not 10% resolved, but like 99% resolved in a matter of maybe 2 months on this diet, really shocked me. And it just kind of goes to show that sometimes, or in fact, a lot of the time, what you need is to really get to the root cause of the issue. Like, uh, with the sort of creams I was using, on the acne, it's almost like doing damage control after it's already happened, you know? Um, so yeah, I was actually spending a lot of time trying to manage that, and I tried a lot of different creams to see which ones would work. Some did work better than others, but like I said, maybe for the back, maybe like 10%, 10% reduction. So yeah, the diet completely fixed it.
Yeah. Did what were the doctors saying about your eczema? Did they suggest any other treatment, or sorry, acne? Did they suggest any other treatment at all, or was it just left at the creams?
Oh, they just said, yeah, get these creams. Basically, that's
Mm,
all they really said. They didn't really. They I think they suggested, like, process don't eat, processed foods and stuff like that. But that's fair, because I was eating some processed foods. But when I was sort of more like completely vegetarian, I actually wasn't eating a lot of processed food. I was eating that fake meat stuff every now and then. But I actually ate a lot more of that once I started trying to bulk up and once I started moved away from strict vegetarian. But I've had the acne on my back since I was like maybe 14. So I had that um, when I was strictly vegetarian, and back
Mm.
then I actually ate pretty quote unquote healthy of uh, what sort of a normal person would eat. I ate a lot of vegetables. I ate a lot of fruit. I ate, just I didn't actually eat a lot of processed foods in reality. If you had a look at my lunchbox when I was in primary school and when I started packing my own lunch in high school, the stuff I had in there was a lot more, quote unquote healthy than what a lot of other people had. You see the typical like tiny teddies or just packets of shapes or something. I never had any of that. I had, vegetables, maybe like a sandwich, you know. So
Mm.
and actually about 3 months ago, I experimented with vegetables again a little bit. I went out for lunch with someone and I got a salad with something, and it was just like lettuce and carrot or something, and bang, next day, big pimple on my forehead. So I don't think that's a coincidence. So for me, I think it was actually the vegetables that were the main driver of the acne. Um,
Yeah, interesting. I mean, at least the doctor spoke to you a little bit about diet, I suppose.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people say, doctors don't talk to them about diet anywhere near enough, which is a real shame. I mean, I talk to all my patients about diet almost regardless of what they're coming in with. Fair enough if they've got a chest infection, maybe not, but
yeah.
like acne, rashes, anything like that. I mention it. Do you think maybe it's something in your diet? Whatever. See where the conversation goes. I don't launch straight into a tirade about going on a
Mm,
carnivore diet or anything like that. But that's really interesting, though, that you said you tried it and then just literally the next day. I mean, there's going to be people out there that say, "Oh, look, it's just coincidence," you haven't repeated the test, whatever. Where's your randomized control study to
mm,
show that vegetables cause acne and so on? But I think at some point, you kind of inherently know that, yeah, look, yes, it could be coincidence, but it's probably not.
no.
But it'd be interesting at some point, to obviously see if you wanted to repeat the experiment.
Mm.
But have you had any other negative issues with reintroducing foods back in?
Mm, yeah. Uh, not too many because I'm quite disciplined with what I eat. I haven't had too many problems with sort of self control. Because I mean I like pizza and I like chocolate as much as anybody. You know, but I have reintroduced chips every now and then, and like as in potato chips, and yeah, that also sets the acne off as well. Uh, and I think these things do have other impacts on me, but the acne is sort of the most obvious physical one. Like, you get up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, and there's a big zit on your forehead or something. That's like the most obvious sign for me that, something's not quite right. And then, if it's sort of, yeah, yeah. So I've tried with the chips, and then that's probably had, different sort of mental, um, what did you say, mental impacts, negative mental impacts on me as well. But I probably just didn't notice it if it's a one-off thing, you know. If I was sort of measuring my blood labs every day, maybe I would notice that. But for me, the acne is a real sign that something's not quite right. So yeah, the vegetables, the chips, I've tried that. Um, Chicken, I've actually over Christmas actually I had some chicken. And I went back home and we actually have sort of pasture raised chickens there that we actually ate, which is good, and it's still a lot better than the stuff you would buy from a store. But yeah, I noticed the acne came back after eating that. Um, so which would be to do with the sort of the not being a ruminant animal, and that there's a lot of sort of studies on studies on that. So that's sort of why I sort of stick to beef really,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's the stuff I've experimented with. I like I said, I was sort of planning to experiment with like a strict carnivore diet. So I'd be interesting to see, how how my energy levels on that are affected. If my body composition becomes even better on that or not.
Yeah, it's definitely worth trying. I mean, I say to a lot of people, try everything once, and if it doesn't work for you, stop it, move on, try something different. It could be worth trying at some point, certainly. You mentioned there that you really just kind of feel that the ruminant animals, just seem to suit you best. What meat do you think does suit you best personally? Do you notice a difference between different meats?
Well, not really. I've I eat a lot of beef, so maybe it's because I'm not too experimental with my diet. I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed any difference with lamb. I haven't noticed any difference between lamb and beef. I haven't actually noticed any difference between goat and beef. Because when I'm hunting, goats usually what we're eating. Um, so yeah, as far as that goes, I haven't really noticed any difference. No.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. So you obviously you're making your podcast,
Yeah.
and which is the at the animal based experience, and you're working on this delivery company as well, which
Mhm.
hopefully might be out soon, which sounds very exciting. Um, what else do you kind of do in your day to day life, and has animal based eating impacted that at all?
Uh, Yeah, I would say my diet has impacted it. It's actually made my sort of the timing of my gym session a lot easier. So I go to the gym probably about 4 to 5 times a week. Now I've experimented with other sort of like a more like a 3 times a week gym or like a maybe a six times a week, but 4 to 5 seems to work best for me. And I've always been a very like an early riser, early to bed, early riser. So I like to get up at 5, and I like to get my gym session out of the way as soon as possible. Um, so when I wasn't eating this diet, that would actually make it quite difficult for me to feel, satiated during the workout and satiated after the workout. So I haven't. So now on this diet, I've sort of because I always feel satiated. It's allowed me to eat a pre-workout meal in the morning when I wake up and a post-workout meal at say like 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. And then not eat for like the rest of the day until dinner. Whereas before, I used to eat, the pre-workout meal, the post-workout meal at 8:30 ish, but then I would always have to eat, in the middle of the day. I'd always have to have a decent snack in the middle of the day when I wasn't eating this diet. But this has really allowed me to eat the way I sort of want to and not feel hungry throughout the day and still have energy throughout sort of the mid morning to the afternoon. I also have not experimented with intermittent fasting very much. So in terms of skipping the pre-workout meal before the workout and then just go eating, more in the post-workout meal and for dinner. That's something I would be open to trying as well. But yeah, that's probably the biggest impact that the diet has had on my lifestyle. And uh, yeah, that's probably the main one. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have tried doing fasted training
Mm.
at all, because and this debate, rages in the weightlifting communities, and you see it on the carnivore forums as well. People talking about fasting, versus not fasting. Fasted training. Do you need carbs? Pre-workout, post-workout. Everybody has their opinion, and what works for them, they often try and push on other people, which I don't agree with. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you did go into that fasted training route and see if it makes any difference to you. There's some evidence that it can maybe help a little bit, but
Mm.
the evidence is minimal. There's studies that haven't really looked at it in that closer detail. But have you noticed any changes on your recovery time?
Mm.
with the animal based diet.
You mean like after like a gym session or something?
Yeah, so like kind of a delayed onset muscle soreness, or just how long it takes for your muscles to recover so you can work them again.
Uh, yes, yes, I have. I wouldn't say it's like a huge change, but yeah, the day after, if I'm going to the gym in consecutive days and working different muscles, I definitely feel a lot of the time that I could just, if I hit chest on Monday and on Tuesday I'm hitting legs, I definitely feel it. Oh yeah, I could go back to the gym and hit chest again. I don't, but I do feel that, uh, yeah, there is sort of a better recovery. It just feels more recovered, more sort of nourished. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel that. I mean, I remember when I used to go to the gym back in my 20s. And that was almost 20 years ago now. I'm just about to turn 40 almost. And I was doing what everyone you were told to do back then, carbs pre-workout, carbs post-workout, pre-workout drinks, post-workout drinks, intra-workout stuff, all the supplements. Like my cupboard was just like more supplements than food,
yeah,
and I remember having to take at least 2 days between sessions, like you said, like chest Monday, and then it would be Thursday. Like I
yeah,
just couldn't do it again before
yeah.
that. Whereas now, like this month, February, I've challenged myself to do 50 squats, 50 deadlifts, 50 bench press every day.
Wow.
Just because I hate doing squats. Um,
Oh,
I,
same. Yeah,
I quite like deadlifts. I quite like bench press, but or push ups. But I hate doing squats. My legs are just not great. I'm not a huge fan of my legs. So
no,
I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm gonna do them every day. Um, and most people said like you're crazy. You're just overtraining. Like you can't recover and so on. But the next day I'm just like, right, no, it's like I'm just back to normal, 100% again. Just go again. Almost just zero recovery time on pure carnivore. That is, I don't know if it would make any difference if I was
mm,
eating those other things. But it's interesting because people talk about carbs for recovery, and post workout carbs and so forth. But I've found that I just don't really need that now.
yeah,
Maybe I would be better if I ate them. I don't know. Maybe I will at some point. But yeah, it's just an interesting observation that I'm doing it every single day, and I'm not lifting a huge weight, but I've halved what I normally do. Um, but because I'm doing twice what I normally do
yeah,
anyway. So
for sure.
50 squats every day is quite a lot. But yeah, I'm finding that it's just almost zero downtime. It's incredible.
Are you doing any other exercises with the bench, the squat, and the deadlift?
That's
Just
all I'm doing this
okay.
month. Yeah. So previously I would do like bench press, and then usually like triceps same day,
Yeah.
and then maybe like legs and biceps, and then maybe my back and my chest another day, for
Mhm.
example. I had a kind of a split over the week, which worked out quite nicely. Usually doing every body part kind of twice a week. But I've gone back to doing like a starting strength type of program, just deadlifts, squats, and bench press. And because that works like 90% of your body.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's interesting because when you get to those upper levels, like 50, when I'm doing 50 deadlifts, like I can feel I've worked my shoulders,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm not really working my shoulders. Like maybe there's a little bit in the bench press for it, maybe, but because you're just holding the bars, you're holding the weights, you're moving around, you're working most of your body. And I superset them, so I just go squat, bench, deadlift, squat, bench, deadlift, squat, bench, deadlift. There's no break. So I'm basically doing hit training pretty much within that as well. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely losing more weight doing that
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. That's for sure. Um, so yeah, where do you kind of see yourself going now then with the animal based diet? At the moment, you're eating mainly meat, but you're adding fruit and honey.
Mhm.
You're saying, of course, at some point you might try, experimenting a little bit. Do you see yourself following this diet, this way of eating, as people call it, for the rest of your life, or are you just going to kind of see what
Y-
feels good? Or
Yeah.
where are you at now?
If tomorrow I wake up and I've gained 10 kilos from eating this diet, then I'll probably switch the diet, but it's very unlikely to happen. So yeah, I mean, I can't see a scenario really where I wouldn't eat this diet, to be honest, after after all the benefits it's had. I always want to continue to evolve. So yeah, like you said, I'll definitely be trying out the sort of the stricter carnivore route, seeing if that helps. Trying out things like the intermittent fasting and stuff. But really, what all of those are just like fine tuning for. Yeah, I've already got sort of 80% of my diet sorted. I reckon. I can't see a scenario where I would switch back to plant based or something. Having been plant based for a while and experienced sort of both sides of the fence. Um, and I know I've talked to a lot of people that had all kinds of autoimmune issues worse than what I had, and had tried all sorts of diets to try and fix it, including extreme diets like this diet or veganism, which are sort of two opposite ends of the spectrum. And pretty much everyone that I've seen that has tried both much prefers this diet, you know. And yeah, as far as fine tuning it goes, I mean, I like to call it an animal based diet because it's based in animal products. So that's kind of the basis of my diet. And if I do a bit of tweaking here and there, it might make me 20% better or something. But no, I think I've got it pretty sorted. And yeah, I'd recommend that for anyone as well.
Do you worry about the potential risks? Because people, detractors of this way of eating, they talk about the cholesterol, no fiber, risk of bowel cancer, and so on. Obviously, you're eating some fiber with the fruit
Mm.
anyway. Do you worry about that at all?
Uh, Not really. I mean, no, to be honest, I mean, I guess you can't know until you're 65 and stuff like that. But I've done a bit of research. I've seen some convincing evidence, even though this isn't mainstream medicine really. I've seen some convincing evidence in terms of like the heart disease and the cancer as far as that goes. Because I mean, they're the two biggest causes of death, right? In a society, heart disease and cancer.
Pretty much, yeah, off the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen sort of the evidence that red meat definitely isn't really a cause of that. And there's things like worrying about gout from eating excess meat, especially organs. I actually have a friend who had gout from eating a lot of beef liver. I personally love beef liver. I eat about 100 grams a week, and I'd recommend that to anyone. But as far as the gout goes, you can get it, but only from eating like really excessive amounts of that stuff. Like this friend of mine that had it, he was eating. I think he ate like 400, 500 grams in like one sitting of beef liver, which as long as you're aware of stuff like that, I'm not worried.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly, cholesterol, heart disease, bowel cancer, and so on. People do worry about these things. It's a question I get asked a lot. I had someone contact me this morning, actually. He's got his own story to share. He's going to come on the podcast soon, actually, hopefully. But he was saying that he's worried about his cholesterol, he's worried about heart disease, worried about bowel cancer. Is it something to be concerned around? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know for sure. But we see trials like the Sydney Heart Trial, Minnesota Heart Trial. These were buried for a long time because they didn't show that cholesterol caused heart disease. They showed the opposite, that it doesn't
Yes.
cause heart
Yeah.
disease, and so they were buried because the researchers didn't want the results to be known, which is just absolutely shocking. And then we see studies, I can't remember the name of it, but it was 2015, I think, in the BMJ, British Medical Journal, 68,000 patients. And they showed that higher LDL was protective
Mm,
against heart disease. We see studies like the University of Adelaide did a huge study last year, 2022, 177 countries, I think it was. They looked at red meat consumption and found that I think in every single one, or maybe very close to every single one, they found that red meat consumption was positively correlated with longevity. So the more red meat people ate, the longer they lived, and importantly, the healthier they were, which is really important because we are living longer
Yeah, we
nowadays
are.
on the
Yeah,
whole, although I think it
yeah,
may be slightly declining again. But the disease-free years
mm,
is drastically going down,
yeah,
which nobody's talking about. I mean,
yeah,
that's it's
yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, and I mean, you only there's been a lot of pictures going around on social media, especially in the past few months about of like pictures of beaches in like the 1970s or something, and how healthy everyone on the beach looks, and like the obesity rates and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's a pretty good indicator that that's something we're doing, that's sort of a mainstream diet. That's something that we're doing wrong. I find that stuff sort of hard to argue with. And then as far as studies go, I don't know. I find the seed oils cause cancer stuff to be pretty convincing, like the correlations between the seed oil use. Obviously, they're correlations; it's not causal, but I find all that sort of evidence to be pretty convincing. I'm sure a lot of your audience have seen sort of things like that. I know Carnivore MD has talked quite a bit about that,
Mm,
but like our red meat consumption on the whole is actually declining. Our red meat consumption is declining as a whole, and our cancer rates are definitely increasing. So I mean, yeah, again, it's not causal, but to me, I find all that stuff pretty convincing that red meat isn't really red meat isn't really at the root of our issues.
mm. Absolutely. I mean, you look at the consumption of red meat and saturated fat over the last 50 or so years, it is coming down. On the
Yeah,
whole, people do follow the advice that they're given. Whether you agree with that advice or not, on the whole, people do follow the advice that the government guidelines set and so forth. And so red meat consumption is coming down, saturated fat consumption is coming down, seed oil consumption is going up. And yet the rates of cancer, tripling. They're going
mm,
up. Rates of heart disease going up, diabetes going up, autoimmune conditions going up, all cancers going up, arthritis going up, like everything's going up. Mental health is getting worse and worse and worse. And then yeah, you look at red meat consumption, it's coming down. You know,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think it takes a rocket scientist to look at that and say, is something not right here?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
are we reducing the wrong thing?
Yeah. I actually saw an interesting statistic the other day, which I think is a good indicator of how our health it seems to be it really seems to be declining, even though, like you said, our life expectancy is you know uh, as high or close to as high as it's ever been. There are in America there are more people that are millionaires than people with six packs.
Hmm,
So it's actually more common to be a millionaire in America than it is to have a six pack.
hmm. It's
So
crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
I think, yeah, I was listening to a statistic the other day. I think it was saying something along the lines of, I'd have to double check this, but I think 20 to 30% of Americans are adults are diabetic. And it's,
diabetic,
yeah,
really?
diabetic.
Wow,
And it's estimated that something like another 50% in 10 years will be diabetic because about 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic. Now, I'd have to double check that because it does sound a bit extreme, but
wow,
I mean that's just insane.
yeah,
70% of Americans are overweight or obese.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that
You know,
kind of says it all, really, eh?
that's people blame Americans. Americans, they just eat all the time and so
Yeah,
forth. But they're really just indicative of the rest of the world. I mean,
yeah,
Australia isn't far behind. It's pretty similar, I think, in those regards. I'd have to double check the stats on that, but I'm pretty sure it's
mm,
fairly similar. Yeah, obesity is one of those things where and I was listening to Robert Sykes, Keto Savage podcast the other day, and they were talking about body positivity, and that's always a touchy subject with people. And they were they were very respectful. Yeah, there was a really good conversation actually. So anyone interested, should definitely have a listen to the Keto Savage podcast. It's really good. And the guest he had on, I can't remember his name now, but he was saying that obviously every single human being, if they're a good person, and we assume they are until we know otherwise, deserves respect and deserves basic humanity. And we shouldn't assume that they are bad because they're overweight.
Mm.
But we also shouldn't be promoting poor health.
Yes.
And we don't know if somebody's unhealthy just because they're overweight. But is there a chance they're unhealthy? Absolutely. It's one of the kind of obvious physical markers for poor metabolic health, waist circumference and body composition,
Mm.
that we can immediately see. And, celebrating, body positivity, definitely super important. Everybody deserves to be happy in their own skin and deserves to be treated fairly with respect and kindness. But at the same time, it's sometimes a fine line between then celebrating obesity and saying it's perfectly healthy to be obese.
Mm.
Is it?
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, I think everyone deserves respect, like you said, whatever sort of size they are. But I think everyone should also have so respect for themselves and respect for their body. And I think um even if you are overweight, if you're trying to get healthier through whatever method you're using, I think that shows a level of self-respect. But I think if you're just sort of sitting there and saying, well, I'm perfect the way I am, I think that actually shows a lot of sort of not a lot of respect for yourself and respect for your body, because the body is actually a really amazing thing, and we only get one body in our lifetime. We haven't sort of delved into the black mirror sort of thing yet in society of switching bodies or whatever, but yeah, we only get one body, and I think it's important to respect that, and I think it's important to I'm very into self improvement and getting better, and I think, like you said, sort of the promotion of non healthy things that just aren't healthy. I don't think that should be promoted. I think that's different from you know yeah, respect for everyone, no matter what their size.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. We definitely need to respect everybody, no matter their
Mm.
size, race, gender, any of those, characteristics. We should be respecting them, of course, 100%. But yeah, it is sometimes a thin line there. And I think really for me, it comes down to, if you're overweight, you're obese. If you are metabolically healthy, otherwise, great, no problem. If you are genuinely healthy, fantastic. You know, if you are not healthy, but you are okay with being not healthy, then that's fine because it's everyone's individual choice. If you are not healthy, but you're in denial about that, then
Mm.
there's an issue. I think
Yeah.
that's for me where it is, and then people should be then trying to seek help. The difficulty I see there, and I see this a lot with my patients. I do a lot of work with overweight people with all sorts of medical conditions, whether it's their weight or something else they're coming in with. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, in the medical system, they do end up getting gaslighted
Yeah.
because well, it's just you're just fat, you know. Or they come in for their mental health. Oh well, have you tried losing weight? That's the first thing that doctors can go to.
Yeah.
And that's when there's a problem,
Yeah.
because then they don't come in seeking help because they
Yeah.
just get told, well, it's because you're fat all the time. You're fat. You're
Yeah.
fat. You're fat, and that's when there's an issue. So it's often a fine line.
Mm. Well, I think there's a clip that's been going around. A lot of your audience has probably seen it recently of uh some health advisor in America on CNN or something, or one of those shows, saying that obesity is genetic and things like that. I think, have you seen that?
I haven't seen it myself.
Oh,
No.
you haven't seen that? Oh, yeah. She is like a top health advisor, I believe, to the government in America. Yeah, basically saying that obesity is genetic, and sort of the problem I have with that and similar statements like that is that um, yes, different people have different genetic predispositions to certain things, but also if you just say obesity is genetic, and if you're obese, there's nothing you can do about it, and if you're in shape, you're always going to be in shape. I think that actually takes a lot of power away from people. And I think you know um, that sort of determinism as far as your shape and size. yeah, it doesn't really help you because rather than saying obesity is genetic, if you say, well, yes, it is, not great to be obese, but also it's within your power to get fit, to get healthy. I think that's much better for people because then you can sort of do whatever you want. And yeah, if you want to be obese, you can be, and if you don't have to be. You can fix it. You know what I mean?
Mm. No, absolutely. I mean, I think I may know what you're referring to. Actually, I saw it in an article. Maybe it's the same thing. And yeah, this doctor in the States was saying, she was basically saying that, yeah, pretty much, it's your genetics, it's your hormones. You can't do anything about it. Was really the take home, message. And yeah, and I completely disagree with that. Like
Mm.
exactly like you said, it disempowers people
Yeah,
when you just say, oh well, there's nothing you can do about it. If you're obese, you're just obese. You were always
yeah,
born to be this way. You were always going to be this way. Just accept it. Be sick and just be okay with that. And that disempowers people.
yeah,
It tells them, well, there's no point trying, and that is doing them a great disservice, because a lot of these people, they can get healthy,
yeah,
and we know weight doesn't equal health, but they often go hand in hand. But people can lose weight, they can get healthy with the right advice. But yeah, when you take that choice away from them,
mm,
that's when there's an issue then. And yeah, and that's why I have a major problem with that. Yeah, for
mm,
sure, for sure. Well, that's probably a good time to maybe think about wrapping it up. What I'd
yeah,
like to end on. But it's been a great conversation today, Rory. So thank you so much for coming on to my podcast today. How can people find you, social media, and so on? What's your kind of socials and so forth there?
yeah. So, my podcast is the animal based experience on Spotify. You'll find Suresh on there. The most recent episode at the time of recording is Suresh. We had a great conversation on there. Um, I really enjoy doing those podcasts. And yeah, so I'd encourage anyone to check that out if you're interested. And then my Instagram is also at the animal based experience. I post stuff daily about the diet to educate, but also to just sometimes funny memes, to do with the diet. And yeah, I'm also on TikTok as well at the animal based XP. I think it's spelt and then there's like underscores in that. Um, and yeah, and you'll find all the details of that delivery system that I was talking about. I'll be releasing details about that on there as well. And yeah, that's about it for me. Thanks for having me on, Suresh. By the way, that was an excellent conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. So
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. It's been great talking to you for the last hour or so, and hopefully our listeners, our viewers, have learned quite a lot today. So, anyone that's watching, anyone that's listening to this in their car or anything, make sure you go and follow Rory at the Animal Based Experience,
mhm.
Instagram, TikTok as well, Animal Based XP, and definitely check out his podcast. There's a lot of good stuff on his podcast, a lot of great stories, success stories, and so on there. So definitely go check that out. Have a good day, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Meat Medic podcast.
Thank you.